Memorial Day reminds us of the soldiers who never came home, but it should also remind us of the families who wake up every day living with that loss. Welcome to Coach Soul, the podcast where we explore therapeutic ways to the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Steve Hudgins. I'm a licensed professional counselor dedicated to helping you navigate life's challenges. In each uplifting episode, we'll discuss mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Join me and with my co-host, Kenya Evelyn, a therapeutic life coach, where sometimes we'll even welcome special guests to our show that share their experience and expertise. So let's embark on this transformative path together and discover a healthier and happier you. Hey, welcome back to Coach Soul. And man, Kenya, barbecue, watermelon, going on a boat on a lake. But we're celebrating type stuff but is Memorial Day a time to celebrate?
Listen, I celebrate life in every shape should perform. So if we're here, we're breathing and there's a holiday, we're celebrating, I am so excited to be here with our listeners. And today's my daughter's birthday. She's turning 11.
What a way to remember.
100%. And we probably will be in the boat or swimming and eating watermelon. And at the same time, Memorial Day. And we get to remember all the lives, all the souls that have been here and that left, and we're gonna go one level deeper today, aren't we, Steve? Not just talking about and appreciating, remembering the people that there's no longer here, but their children. So carry on.
As a military veteran, this is an honorable day because, Memorial Day is supposed to remind us the sacrifice that those who have died in uniform for our freedom. And, communities that notice veterans, churches create space for them. We listen to veterans and to me, healing does not start with a policy of, hey, let's remember.
That's right.
To me, healing starts with presence. So yeah, the fallen died on the battlefield, and too many veterans right now are dying on the home front. And that Memorial Day should remind us of both. But oftentimes we talk about on podcasts talking about veterans and things of that nature or celebration, but we rarely talk about those who are struggling with the loss of that veteran.
Right.
Children lose a mom or a dad on the battlefield. And then the mom and the dad that's died in the battlefield, well, their parents are grieving too. So it's a community. So I want to honor those who have lost a loved one in the battlefield. And with, the Iran war that's been going on is challenging because we read all the time, here's a serviceman that died. What do you do with that? What do we do with these families who are grieving in the moment? And yet Memorial Day is just right around the corner. Yeah. And it's that splinter that reminds them of that death again. So I want to honor this Memorial Day for those of us who've been left behind from a veteran that's died. What are some things that, we can discuss about helping these individuals through the grieving process, but at the same time, celebrating life that gave us the freedom that we have now?
Such a beautiful question. Yes, my heart goes out to every loved one left behind, whether if it's a wife, a husband, kids, teens. The truth is we don't know what you're going through. So I'm not going to pretend that I say, ooh, I know you're going through. I don't know what you're going through. However, I see you. We see you. And I send you so much love today, especially in this season, that you feel seen and honored not just honor the fallen soldiers, if you will. Your dad, your mama, your brother, your sister. And that is the first step of healing. Because every perspective is to be seen, to be honored, and to be accepted. I know for a fact that I have 2 boys, one 16, and sometimes we talk about, oh my gosh, you're so close to be 18. I feel very strongly that I would not want my kids there. However, I honor their decision. I hope this makes sense. So if you're grieving right now, I would love for you to stop and hear from your heart, not from your head. Did she pass doing what she loved? What she believed on? She believed in serving the country, believed in serving the greater good of freedom and nation. And that is the highlight of what honorable behavior looks like, to give your life. They did not want to die, but they sign up for that possible outcome because that was their level of commitment and love and honor and the vision for a better place. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to your loved one. I know the freedom is not free. I receive it. First step of healing, acknowledgement, and see that life will never be the same. So in moving forward, allow that grief to speak. Whenever you're ready, allow that grief to move into your body, that frequency, that energy to move through. And for some people, it's just crying. And for some people, they just go through every stage of grief. They're going to get angry, and they're going to get frustrated, and they're going to get sad. And you're just going to go until you alchemize and you come out into acceptance. I mean, again, I'm a mama. Would I jump straight on acceptance if my loved one was not here? Probably not. Most likely not. So to honor your humanity, I see you. To honor humanity, it's okay to cry with one hand and to smile with another. Your first question, your opening sentence, if you will, Steve. Is it okay to celebrate in a day where we're remembering the fallen soldiers? Yes, and it's okay to cry and eat watermelon. And
I think
all the things.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kenya. One of the things that was coming to my mind is the fact that when we think about Memorial Day, oftentimes we think this is the first start of vacation because school's out. We don't have to work as hard. Summer's here. And so families start taking vacations and things. But I do want to call out that Memorial Day can reopen the wound for those who are grieving, because grief research has shown that anniversaries and public commemorations, it reactivate the traumatic memory.
Yes.
So if you're around someone who is grieving at the time of a family celebration, when a nation collectively remembers, that family is often experiencing that renewed emotional pain, the loneliness in public remembrance. There's a pressure to appear happy or proud instead of grieving. And so oftentimes they fear the loved one will be forgotten once that day ends. And for them, the world pauses for a moment, and the family continues carrying the loss after the moment passes. So the real thing here is, how can we actually help these families? We always talk about, or seem to talk about, veterans and what it means to those that have lost. But Kenya and I want to take this podcast of Coach Soul and celebrate with families who are left behind, so to speak, left in the shadows because the death of the veteran takes precedence. But we never touch upon the grief of that family member that lost it. And so if we want to offer a solution-focused message, I think number one is recognize the family, not just only the soldier. Because when a family service member dies in combat, right, that sacrifice is carried by the family for life. So your sacrifice as a family is not forgotten. And so, Kenya, what are some ways that maybe we can recognize families and not just the soldier on Memorial Day?
To ask questions.
Okay.
To ask
wait a
questions.
minute.
Just sit with her, sit with him, sit with them, and just reflect that there's nothing that this person is saying or is not saying, because many of them will be in shutdown mode. And it's completely natural in the grieving process, depending on how new it is, or like you said, that splinter, that trigger just flared up again, and he or she now, they're all activated, and the loss will never be compensated, right? So if you want to really sit down and wear the same shoes of this person, just think about something or someone that you have lost, or even an opportunity that was so close to you now is not there. It breaks the path open. Again, life will never be the same. So the way to support them is to invite them as they are, just as they are. Ask questions. In church we do the food train. This might be a good day to do a food train. To invite it over and say, hey, we'll cook out, just come over. And if they say they don't want to, that's okay. Nothing to be taken personally. That might just be what they need to do. They might need to be alone, or they might just want to go to a cemetery, or you can choose to accompany them and just be a silent companion if that's what it takes. But just be a good human. And you know what, Steve? I would like to take a breath and ground into the truth that we don't need to work to be good humans. Can we all agree on that, please? When we drop into our hearts, can we just be brothers and sisters? Because that's what we are in the end of the day. We're mirror to each other. Your pain is my pain, my pleasure is your pleasure. We all rise together. If that is not the truth, then the opposite needs to be the truth, which is we are in competition, we are at war, we are opposites, and I refuse to believe that. We are one.
And we are one. But here's the thing too, that I feel like families, I know it's like when I lost my dad last year, oftentimes I went, well, am I going to forget him, his memories, those type of things? And so Memorial Day brings up all these memories. But here's a crucial part. Show up after Memorial Day for a person. Because support for these families often disappears after the ceremony. And so it's maybe helping them to remember their soldier's birthday, inviting the family to share stories, continuing connecting with the surviving children. Because, as you said, I'll sum it up in a different way, grief does not end when the ceremony ends. And, Kenya, I think sometimes we feel the pressure that I've got to say something. I've got to do something. But we don't have to force it.
Right? Grief has stages. Maybe they already grieved. But then another wave comes and grief starts all over again.
Right.
And then something else unlocks and you're there again. And again, let's just be good humans. How would you want to connect to someone if was the other way around? And your authentic heart, your authentic ways of being. I can say 20 things that I would do, but what would you do, Steve? I know you're a poet. I know you're a writer. So for you, writing a card, it's right up your alley because it's just something genuine and something that connects you with your authentic self. For me, could be write a song or just stay there and maybe bring the guitar over. I don't know. Be you. Be who you are. You know who you are. And you know that the world needs more of your authentic love and expression. The best way to help healing is to spread authentic love. Listen, this is not the lovey-dovey, plus equals more love, more love. I'm talking about the way God designed you. and me is to be fully expressed beings. The joy of God, the joy of the Creator is to see the creation thrive. So I'm going to say something maybe contradicting. There's joy in grief. The joy that you love someone so much that death cannot part that love. It's beyond that. Death is such a connection that you are grieving because you love. And therefore, you're never going to not love. You're just going to learn to live a different life without that person in 3D. However, the memories are here, and we get to celebrate everything that it is and all the gifts that he or she or they planted already in our lives and their lives. And that teenager will never get over to not have his daddy or his mama. However, you can be a great aunt. You can be a great uncle.
Well, and when you think about what we're sharing here, it's oftentimes it's about creating that safe space for the grieving person to share a story about their loved one. And I say creating a safe space because oftentimes if someone's grieving, they don't want to be like a Debbie Downer, so to speak, and be a party pooper while everybody else is kind of in a happy mode celebrating. So for those who are not connected to a veteran's loss, but connected to the one that's been left behind, create that safe space, right? Talking keeps memory alive and it reduces isolation. And oftentimes when someone's grieving, what do? They isolate sometimes. So if you're a part of an organization, Gold Star Family is a great support group for these veterans and their families. Maybe help the one who's grieving, have a storytelling night. Do maybe a celebration of a gathering, a celebrating life type thing. We also we go through a special ritual for a veteran who's died, which we call the empty chair. It's a table, the hat, the flag, a variety of different symbolisms that go into this to honor the veteran. But then again, I think those who are left behind of the veteran's family, we forget about them. And so part of this too, I think another way of helping is remember to support the children.
Exactly.
We forget about the children. And children of fallen service members struggle silently because it's joy mixed with grief. It's the absence during their milestones, first dance, first baptism. Maybe it's the first time that they were engaged, and yet that loved one wasn't there to represent. So they too struggle silently.
For sure.
And so what are some ways that maybe there's some emotional support that to help children who are struggling when their loved one has passed away because they were a veteran?
That's a great question. There's something I will answer this question that you said that really triggered this thinking. One thing is to ask. What a novel idea to ask. How can I help you? Do you want me around? What is the best way to support you in your journey? Do you want me here? Can I bring you something? Just really ask. And I would insist it if the first answer, and if they answer really quickly, no, nothing, it's fine. They're probably saying, I don't want to bother you. So you insist. Ask a couple more times. Children are very interesting because if they are 4 years or younger, they would just tell you everything. They would just tell you, and if they don't have enough vocabulary to really explain the way we're talking right now, they would just they will cry, they will show in their body they're happy or they're angry, they will punch things. So the problem is when they get older, the shutdown and the layers that happen between 8 on and then teenagers 13 on. I ask. I know that my sons don't like to be touched right now. So I know that if they're crying, to come and hug them, that's not the best method. But if it's my daughter, it's okay.
You know, one of the things of I like that we want to ask, but I was reminded in a therapy session of someone who lost a loved one, and they're like, I don't know how to respond if somebody asks me, what do I need? Do you want my help? And this person said it felt like it put pressure on them to try to figure out. So many grieving people are exhausted, emotionally overwhelmed, unsure what they need.
Then that's the question of being a good human comes from, like the perception. Because you're absolutely right. Like, I don't even know where to start. I want my mother back. I mean, what do I want? You know? So sit with them. Hey, put a hand on the shoulder. I'm going to be right here.
Right, because when they answer, I'm okay, they may not be okay. So maybe something that could help in this aspect, because sometimes we struggle in asking questions and it becomes awkward. And the person doesn't want to feel pressured to answer, and then the person that's asking the question doesn't want to pressure. So what if a statement was, hey, Kenya, I'm thinking about you today. I want to bring dinner by this week. If that feels okay, just let me know.
100%.
Right? It's being assertive. And just, I think 3 important things that we need to look at is acknowledge the loss, offer support without pressure, and give the grieving person control. How much do we not like sitting in grief with someone and the emotion becomes awkward or hurtful? But, when we think about this Memorial Day, use the name of the person who died. That is the best way you can honor somebody. Because oftentimes grieving families say the most painful experience is when people stop mentioning their name.
Exactly.
So you just say, hey, I was thinking about Michael today. I remember you telling me how much he loved fishing. Oh my gosh. What does that do to the grieving person? It's a memory that brings back a positive emotion. Yeah, I remember this one time we went out fishing and we caught a big fish this way that just kind of got away. So presence helps more than solutions, and we don't have to have a fix or quick fix to the grief. And as you said, and as we reiterated here, it's standing beside the person who's carrying it.
On a somatic level, I just want to add that if you know that person, right? If this is your close friend or a family member, ask them, hey, let's go for a walk together. Or I would like to go to your house and bring music to have a dance party in your living room or something. You have to be to have sensory acuity to understand where is that person on the grief, on the stage of grief, in the process of grief, in the grieving wheel, if you will. Because when you move your body, whether it's movement, dancing, or walking, you process stuck energy, stuck emotion. So just remember that the tools are many, and you don't need to remember anything in this conversation besides the fact that we're one and that you are chosen to be in this person's life. I know that because God puts you there. And your intention to love and to serve makes it the door opening to the next step. And remember to be in the step you're at. I don't know how long is it going to take, but keep reinforcing that you're not alone. I'm here. You're loved. And we're doing life together. That is the greatest gift in this lifetime, is to know that somebody's there for you. So be the one to be there for someone else.
When we think about Memorial Day, it's just not simple for everybody. Some people, it's a date of honor. For others, is a day of questions that still have no answers. Grief doesn't follow a script. And sometimes it looks like pride, silence, maybe anger. And all of that brings here today. And, Kenya, one of the hardest things about grief is that people try to rush it and they want answers. And grief doesn't do that. It doesn't move that way. So sometimes the healing thing we can do is simply sit beside someone who's hurting. I know we keep reiterating that. But oftentimes just sitting in silence seems awkward. But Memorial Day asks us to remember the soldiers who gave their lives. But today, again, Kenya and I are asking, we need to remember the families whose lives were forever changed when they did. Because the nation paused for a moment. They carry it for a lifetime.
That's right.
The least we can do is stand beside them. And so any last words? We got about 3 minutes left, Kenya.
It gets to be lighter. If you choose to feel that things are heavy and this is so tough and the world, the state, and then that is your fate. So energetically, I like this image and I want to share with our dear listeners. Yes, the world is in one state, but your world is your choice. Your personal world, your body, where your soul lives. So watch your heart. You and the Holy Spirit show up in a way that you're ready to pour in somebody else's lives. If you don't feel like that is the state you're at, because perhaps you're also going through something, then it's okay. You don't need to pour an empty cup. Don't ever feel that way. But just when we come united in the collective of we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, then we know that it doesn't matter what we're going through. We're in this together. So I just want to encourage you that you're enough, that your gifts are to be served for one person or many or millions. It makes a difference. Your life, your presence makes a difference. So be the wonderful you that you can be today for someone in need.
Memorial Day reminds us of the soldiers who never came home. But it should also remind us of the families who wake up every day living with that loss. Today, as we place flags on graves across the country, but somewhere tonight, a mother, a spouse, or a child is quietly remembering the last conversation they ever had. Again, the nation pauses for a day. They carry it for a lifetime. So if you ever come across somebody, take a pause, thank them for the service that they gave of their loved one who gave their service of life for our freedom. And so until next time, take care and God
so
bless.
much love.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on Coach Soul. As we wrap up, we want to remind our listeners of a few key points. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content shared here is based on professional opinion but may not apply to everyone's situation. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your mental health care. If you're in a crisis, please seek immediate professional help or contact a crisis hotline. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapist-client relationship. For personal advice, please consult with your licensed mental health professional in your area. Remember, your mental health journey is unique. While we hope this information is helpful, it is crucial to work directly with the qualified personnel for your specific needs. Thank you again for tuning in to Coach Soul, and we'll see you next time.